been a while since I've done a video. Seeing things. Seeing cognitive dissonance, experiencing cognitive dissonance. I'll tell you that right off the bat. I have detected a shitload of cognitive dissonance. My posts have been much less frequent. My videos have been far less frequent, except for some of the weather stuff last week or the week before. Definitely seeing propaganda. People are seeing through it. Some are not. Some are hopelessly entwined. It's just the way it is. Seeing the government doing this bizarre dance. And, yeah, that's... I think the blue team are going to make the red team, in order to appear compassionate, keep upping the ante on the individual stimulus this time around. Small businesses, definitely. I've just seen where they have run out of money already, and so it's like, okay, so they tried the first one. Now they have to try a second one that's going to improve on the first one. Now, in one sense, the improvement is the amount of money. The problem is where that comes from. And as you do this, does it cause inflation? Does it devalue the currency? So then you will have people, I guess, working. This is like a projection that is like a possible fit for this scenario. You're going to have a currency market as far as employment goes, but you're also going to have barter, because there are going to be people that just want to have currency, and the currency won't mean shit. So if your bills are paid in currency and your bills aren't, I don't know, it just depends on if you're in a private capitalist type market, upgrading your society in this way, like, you have to wonder, like, how are the utility companies going to behave? Are they going to jack the price up on, your rates? Are they going to keep them about the same because the currency don't mean shit and they know that everybody's going to be bartering? Are the rates going to skyrocket as inflation skyrockets and minimum wage and such don't? Till eventually they, I guess, decide that they have to do that. It's almost like a forced collapse of the house of cards of this market and this whole social economic thing that's been going on. So, like, if there's an upgrade coming, does that mean we're going to have to fumble through the steps and suffer in the meantime until they get it figured out? Because you're going to have to regulate all the industries, all the utilities, all the markets, so that inflation doesn't happen, and not by injecting money, because that causes inflation. What this brings back around with is, if they're going to increase the amount of money that everyone gets individually per month, and do it for more than 1 month, and they're attempting to do this to up an ante, but they're trying to improve the situation. But the question is, where is this money coming from? Are we cutting spending in other places majorly? I'm not talking food stamps and Social Security. That's a fingernail off. So where else are they going to cut budget, or are they going to borrow money? If they're borrowing money, who are they borrowing from? And if they're not borrowing it, they're making it. If they're making it, what are they backing it with? So,
power off.
Nice. If they're going to upgrade the system, it's going to have to happen fairly quickly, but it's going to have to work. If it doesn't work, then what are they going to accomplish? The actuality, reality is perception. Actuality is what is perceived. Yep. The actuality of the socialist systems in the world right now that don't work is that their governments and their economies are under sanctions from other countries in the world because of human rights abuses and other things, supposedly. And some of these don't operate on central banks. They don't work within the fiat currency system of the rest of the world. And in the case of some of them, like Venezuela, control a significant amount of resource production that is important to everyone. So, the reality is that those countries are economically failing because of outside interference. They are socially failing because of their leadership and the laws and the ways that things went. But the other question is in the larger scheme of the world, of geopolitics, of, countries playing games with each other without having outright wars. That proxy wars are a thing. That's just not an imaginary concept. It's not tinfoil. It is a reality that countries mess with other countries by messing with littler countries that the other countries are affected with. So, who installed the government in Venezuela, for example? I'm not making this video about Venezuela. That's just the example that came to mind there. So, is someone messing with our government? If so, who? If it is so, will who be obscured by deception, the appearance of something else? Is it a standalone complex? Is it organized? But at the same time, in some states, things are beaten. In other states, they are not. And I feel like that is kind of the thing to watch when it comes to the big situation around here for us. Is where you're living going to be a police state, or is it going to be a place where people are like, yeah, okay, so those are the guidelines, we're going to mostly follow them, but hell no, you can't tell me I can't. Because rights. And if you don't have rights, then what's the point? Oh, everyone's safe and alive, and miserable, and suffering. Don't even get me started on the existential questions of to be or not to be. Has nothing to do with self-inflicted, just so as you know. Just has to do with, is it better to be or not to be? If everyone is healthy, happy, a pig in a cage on antibiotics, as it were, what kind of life is that? Utopia sucks. So, don't let that fear get you. Pay attention to who's telling you what. Is there an agenda, and who benefits? Things I'm seeing. I've seen an increase in self-awareness individually. I go to the store and there are a lot more people that are paying closer attention to the area around them, whether or not they're impeding someone else. There's other people that don't care. I think they're still self-aware, but they just don't care. And that's a whole other thing. Seeing some increase in patience, some understanding. I like the coming together part. I just wish people would fucking think for themselves while they're doing it. A lot of people are. Some people are not. The private agenda political propagandeers are also still at play. They haven't gone away. And the news hasn't suddenly started telling the truth, and the politicians haven't suddenly become uncorrupt. Of that, you can be certain on all of those points. It's a very beautiful day today. Got a couple trees in the woods that I'm going to harvest for firewood. I found that have already died. I'm going to see what I can get off of them. I feel like that's the best way to do first, is to get the dead trees while they're still standing. Got lots of dandelions on the lawn, which is good for bees. Oh yeah, picked up a ton of boxes from a friend that had just moved and had a bunch of new stuff, and basically got paid to haul it off. I'm going to get rid of the styrofoam through the weekly trash pickup, and then over time, and then in the meantime, I've burned out the unusable cardboard and everything else that can be used, either boxes for storage or large areas that I can use for other things. I've got some thermal efficiency concepts for the windows that I think cardboard would make a good first pass to see how they work. So yeah. I think what the powers that be need to understand is that if they don't do us right, they're going to regret it. They're seeing how that is. The president acknowledged the upsurge in gun sales. This was not specifically, strictly just saying, yep, gun sales are up. See? This is also a statement that at the highest level of the executive branch of the government, they are fully aware that a bunch of people just musket it up. That was an acknowledgement. I don't know, I won't state for good, for bad, for meaning, but that's what it was too. It was definitely, it wouldn't have said it if they didn't know it. And I just had a really interesting conversation on Facebook, I guess. I'll close out with this. I do not believe we need a revolution. A revolution is tearing down the government and building a new one. I don't think we need that. I think our Constitution is sound. I think the fact that the Supreme Court has allowed federal regulation to supersede Constitution is a thing that should be fixed. I think that requires a revolt, not a revolution. Basically, my interpretation of the Second Amendment is that in order to prevent tyranny, the people have the right to keep and bear and maintain a well-regulated citizen militia. It's easy. It's made of everyone. It takes like 3.5% of a population of a country like this to overthrow the entire federal government. It's not that you're removing the government, you're simply removing the bad people. And if the government won't remove them, it's because of tyranny, therefore Second Amendment. Real simple. But it's a states thing because that's how the United States work. There are states' rights. So you have to examine your state constitution. Pretty sure you got a state Bill of Rights. These cannot supersede the federal, but how they interpret it state by state for the spirit of each set of laws, that's what states are. They're geographic areas that have their own interpretation of law. So basically it's like if you don't like how they interpret it, don't change it. Go somewhere that thinks differently, more like you do. I know that's not as easy as it sounds, but that's the thing. If you don't like it, you can find another state where the laws are different, or even a different country. That's not, you know, you don't like it, get out. No, but seriously. Oh, I think that's about it. Um, there are a lot of smart people, and there are a lot of really gullible people in this world, and that is going to be thrown into a more sharp or stark relief. The problem is that the smart people, being able to recognize things such as being smart, will be difficult to discern from the gullible people, because the gullible people will be convinced that they too are smart. And ultimately, it'll become obvious who's gullible and who's not. And the ones that are not gullible are going to have to find a way to shepherd or take care of the gullible ones, but just letting them around to have equal access and rights and everything else, and the ability to vote and decide. You either need to fix the gullibility, or you need to see. It's bad where this utopian idea goes to, but it's a reality we're going to face. We're going to have to, if we can't fix the gullible people, we have to get rid of the people that are tricking them. I think that's about it. So now you're looking at like the media. Now the government can't do anything to oppose the media, but that doesn't mean that the citizens can't tar and feather them. I think that's how that one works. Because you have the ability to gather peaceably and demand redress of grievances, so you can all gather around and protest at the news place, and you say, you motherfuckers better do the right thing. And if they won't, then I don't know. Is that if it's the citizen militia, then, you know, clean house. The only other thing you can do is that through your free choice and such is to completely disregard, ignore, and not give any money in any way that you can to those people. That's a private matter. You can basically starve them of what they want from you. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. Call it good on this video. It's been a while. Hope everyone is doing well. And in case you need to hear it, today is Sunday.